Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Hopefully you guys are doing well, and today we're going to be talking about a film that just released in cinemas called Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Now, I've been excited for this film for a long time. Now, I'm young as well, so I can imagine the excitement people had. People born back before the 80s that watched the original, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, Last Crusade, and the amount of excitement they've had for this film. And I gotta say, right out of the gate, I watched it with my brother last week. I enjoyed it. Not as much as the first four. I do love Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. It's probably the most flawed film. It is the most flawed film. But the good moments in it are just amazing. I love it. I'm going to go into more of that later. But I do love Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. It's my second favourite Indiana Jones film, next to Last Crusade. I never connected with Raiders of the Lost Ark as much, but it's a perfect adventure film, and I admire it, I respect it for what it is, and I see it for what it is. But yeah, let's get right into the review on Dial of Destiny. So it starts off, this is spoilers by the way, so if you haven't seen it, then click off this video right now. You don't want spoilers before this film, because it has a lot of good stuff in it. But I will go into the film without seeing any spoilers. That's my take on that. But yeah, you've been warned, and now I'm going to get into the spoiler review. So it starts off with this 20-minute sequence, around 20-minute sequence of Indiana Jones back, like, probably a few years after Last Crusade, in his 40s, and he's on this train in World War II, like at the end of World War II, and he's trying to retrieve this like dagger artifact with his companion. I forgot the companion's name now. Daz, no, not Daz Games. It's something. It's Az. I'm gonna call him Az. So Indiana Jones and Az were on the train. Well, Az gets captured, but they both get captured. Indiana Jones is in his outfit. I like that callback to Raiders of the Lost Ark when he dresses up in, the Nazis' outfit, or in the uniform. And I remember in Raiders it couldn't fit him. He was like, "It doesn't fit me," but in this one it does. And I think I was a bit harsh on it. I've only seen the film once, by the way. But I think I was a bit harsh on the first little bit with CGI. I think when he got into his hat and his, proper outfit, Indiana Jones, the CGI on his face looked a lot better. But before that, the first 10 minutes, the CGI on his face did not look great, in my opinion. It didn't look right. Now, I understand the technology is still advancing, it's still improving, but when I watched it, it didn't feel like the mouth synced up with the words, and that really took me out of the first little bit. But despite everything, it was really good still, and I respect them for bringing Harrison Ford, younger version of himself with CGI. Now you could tell that he was acted by Harrison Ford, and Harrison Ford I think was 79 when he filmed the film, so his movements were like a 79-year-old man's movements. You could tell that, but obviously no one else could play Indiana Jones. It had to be him, obviously. But yeah, I think the first 20 minutes was great. It was like classic Indiana Jones, and the only nitpick that I have is the CGI on his face at points, especially when he's eating that biscuit. He stands up, eats the biscuit again. It feels very robotic. You can tell it doesn't feel like an actual person's there in that little bit. But apart from that, I really enjoyed it. When he got into his hat, his leather jacket. Is it leather jacket? I don't know. I don't know if it's actually leather. But his whole outfit looked great. It looked great. And the action in this film was really good. I liked how they brought back, a lot of the real locations instead of having them all CGI. I mean, the first 20 minutes was mostly all CGI. But there's a lot of this film compared to Crystal Skull isn't CGI backgrounds. It's in real locations, which I really admired. They went to all over the world in this film, and it felt like an actual adventure, loads of archaeology, and I love that part of the film. You know, what's the director's name of this film? Hang on, let me search out what the director's name. I forgot. James Mangold. James Mangold. That was it. I think he did a good job. You can tell that it wasn't Steven Spielberg that directed the film, just with the camera movements, just the way the whole film was done. You could tell it wasn't Steven Spielberg. But I think James Mangold did a good job. He did a very good job. And Harrison Ford, you gotta love him. You gotta love him for coming back. And, you know, he's still doing an action hero. Now, he does have, you know, stunt doubles, but he's still acting an action hero in his 80s. And that is amazing. And he looks great for his age as well. He looks absolutely brilliant for his age. But I did enjoy this film. I think the more I will watch this film, the more I will enjoy it. That tends to be what happens when I watch films more. I tend to enjoy them more. The pacing of this film, people complained about the pacing. I mean, it felt a lot more smaller in scale compared to the other Indiana Jones films. I think it's because there were like less villains. Like in the other Indiana Jones films, there was like, you know, a main villain and it had a whole, like, it felt like a whole army behind them. In this one, it felt like there was only like a few henchmen. But the stakes were high. The stakes were very high, but it felt small in scale as well at the same time. You know what I mean? There's a lot of laughs, funny quips. The quips and funny moments felt like classic Indiana Jones. I think Helena Shaw, I didn't mind her as a character. I can get why she gets on people's nerves, but they did that on purpose, I feel like, and they did a good job in it. I think Phoebe Waller-Bridge, I think is the actress. She did a really good job acting. She's a good actor. Surprised I haven't seen her in anything before, but I'm sure I will. Maybe it's her first film, I'm not sure. But yeah, I think the whole film was pretty good, in my opinion. It had its flaws. You could definitely see its flaws, just like Crystal Skull. But it doesn't take away from the enjoyment of it. You know, a film might have loads of flaws in it, but depending on how you look at it, you could love it still. And that's exactly my opinion on Crystal Skull. Like, take away from Dial of Destiny for a second, look at Crystal Skull. You know, people complained about the swinging monkeys. I think that's cool. I think that's really cool, just Shia LaBeouf swinging on monkeys. I've never complained about that. Never. Because I just found it pretty cool. I mean, it's very unrealistic, sure, but, you know, it's a film. I just enjoy it for what it is. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. It's your opinion. And the nuclear fridge scene, yeah, that was probably my biggest complaint. That was a bit too far, like much further than swinging monkeys. But yeah, I think George Lucas just did that just to show how much the CGI has improved with the nuclear bomb. I mean, the CGI looked great in that. Don't get me wrong, looked great. And yeah, I think the other complaints people have is the aliens showing up at the end. But every Indiana Jones film has something insane that happens at the end. It gets really wacky at the end of every single Indiana Jones film. In the first one, Raiders of the Lost Ark, we have Ark of the Covenant. Ghosts, spirits popping out of the Ark of the Covenant and staring at soldiers, melting their faces off, blowing their faces off, you know? Temple of Doom, we have a non-stop action sequence. You know, we have the minecart chase, the bridge scene, the fight on top of the lava pit, which was before all that, but yeah, it's chaotic. We have voodoo dolls involved, we have a guy pulling a heart out of someone, we have Indiana Jones drinking blood. It's chaos. And that's what makes these films like fun. That's what makes these films so good. That's a part of what makes it good. And Last Crusade, you know, had like, what, 1,000-year-old knight give a cup to someone that can heal them. Crystal Skull, aliens pop out the ground. Dial of Destiny, they go back in time to this period where, what's his name? The guy who built the dial. Archimedes and a big war between the medievals, and it was nuts. It's nuts at the end of every film. So it's a part of what makes these films fun, in my opinion. So that was never a problem with me. I get why people are like, the alien CGI wasn't great. I mean, it was 2008, so it's understandable, and I can forgive that, definitely. So that doesn't really bother me. But one of the main things that made the original trilogy good, and Indiana Jones somewhere to escape through, somewhere to feel real, is using real locations and not using green screen CGI backgrounds. And that's what they did in Crystal Skull for most of the film. And it just took away even the grading they used from some of the fun that was the original trilogy. With the real locations. With real locations, it gave you the extra feel that it was real, that you could go there, that you could be Indiana Jones yourself, that you could venture on these adventures that he goes on, you know what I mean? And the whole feel of the film as well, the old feel, the color grading they used, just felt so much more real than Crystal Skull. And that's probably my main complaint about Crystal Skull. I do have so much fun with Crystal Skull, but that specifically is probably the only big downside of it for me. And it doesn't take me out of the film, it just takes away that escapism that I've always had with the original trilogy of films. And it was kind of brought back with Dial of Destiny, with them using real locations, but they did use a lot of CGI in Dial of Destiny as well. It's just CGI, even though it looks good some of the time, it takes away from that realism. It takes away from that escapism that you have from some films that you want to feel that feeling, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's my saying on that. And people complain a lot about the CGI in Crystal Skull, so I thought I'll put my take on it, and I do agree with a lot of you. So yeah, Crystal Skull is just the comedy. I love the comedy. That's like the center, what makes one of the key centerpieces that makes Indiana Jones just so fun to rewatch for me. You know, Last Crusade is the best with that. You know, the dynamic between Indiana Jones and his father is just amazing. You know, it's for the last 3/4 of the film, it's just him and his dad having just banter, and it's, you know, it's fun. It is fun. And then in Crystal Skull, it's again a dynamic between Indiana Jones and his son that I really do enjoy. Especially that snake pit scene. The whole snake pit scene. You know, I could watch that every day and it will never get old. One of the best scenes in the entire series. But yeah, I mean, obviously the first thing that comes to mind when you think of Indiana Jones is adventure. And that's, you know, top of the line when it comes to things that I enjoy watching these films for, is the adventure side of things. Going on those dangerous adventures, you don't really have a plan, just going into it, and you're just finding all these artifacts, you're, you know, speaking to people, socializing, traveling the world, see different cultures. It's a dream. It's a dream for every guy, you know? So it's a world to get lost in. And you know, you could rewatch Indiana Jones any day and it'll still feel the same excitement, you know? And that's something that just makes these films so special. And yeah, I feel like Dial of Destiny did a good job at it, but it has its flaws, it has many flaws. And I'm gonna have to rewatch it multiple times before I, you know, even consider it being as high as any of the other Indiana Jones films. So yeah, I might let you guys know my thoughts after that. But Indiana Jones, just, you know, it's my second favorite franchise. And yeah, basically all I have to say really about Indiana Jones is just, it's a world to get lost in. It's amazing. Also the plot of Dial of Destiny, I thought was decent. It was decent. It didn't have much to it though. It felt like it was very thin. Just hunting down this artifact. That was basically the whole film. And while, you know, Nazis are chasing you. But also the villain was played very well. He's very menacing. Every time he was on screen, you were just staring at it. You're like, oh, he's on screen again. big spotlight on him, and you know, your eyes will be glued to the screen. And I feel like they tried to didn't replace, but tried to, what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of give us some nostalgia for Short Round with adding Teddy. I mean, Teddy was a good character. He was just quite forgettable because he didn't do much. And if you look at Short Round, if you compare him to Short Round just has such a flair to him. You know, such a personality flair that you can just instantly fall in love with. Well, Teddy, he didn't have that flair. He wasn't written to have that flair to him. So, unfortunately, I didn't love him. He's just quite forgettable for me, anyway. But I did love Short Round. Short Round is just a classic. And if you just see on the red carpet of the film, the actor for Short Round is there. I forgot his name. Sorry about that. But he comes up to Harrison Ford. He was like, Indy. It's wholesome. If you just search it up, it's such a wholesome moment, honestly. Like, you know, it's brilliant. And then Harrison Ford's like, you're all grown up. It's yeah. You know, it makes you smile thinking about it. But yeah. And also the you know, Indiana Jones wearing his tie for quite a lot of the film. Last Crusade again, you know, giving us flashbacks to that. And then the car, you know, people were working on the car, and then Indiana Jones just takes off with it. Again, you know, what's the word? So, you know, it mirrors Last Crusade with that scene. And yeah, there's a lot of callbacks. That was the word I'm looking for, callback. There was a lot of callbacks to the earlier films. But yeah, I think, was there any callbacks to Crystal Skull? There was a few. Oh, there's something I need to talk about as well. Yeah, the ending. I need to talk about the ending. But yeah, there was a callback to Crystal Skull with obviously Indiana Jones' son dying. And that was a shock. That was a big shock. I was like, wow, he signed up for Vietnam or something, and he died. Yeah, that was a big shock. And you see Indiana Jones in this depressed state at the beginning of the film. You know, he's mixing alcohol with his coffee. He's depressed. He's angry at his neighbors. See, the neighbors are, you know, they have that demeanor about them that he's done this like every morning. You know, come downstairs with a baseball bat. So you can tell he's not in a great place. He's going to retirement. He's you know, he's not in a great place. He's divorced, lost his son, and that's probably everything just stemmed from that. And I think in the film, Indiana Jones is 70 years old, even though Harrison Ford was 79 when he filmed it. And yeah, and yeah, it was just a big shock that his son died. And you see him going on this journey. I kind of like how he went on this journey, like, you know, he spent his whole life chasing history, you know? And in this film, he caught up to it. You know, he spent his whole life chasing history. Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, Last Crusade, Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, you could say that as well. Crystal Skull, Dial of Destiny, finally catches history, goes back in time and catches it, basically, and speaks to Archimedes, and he wants to stay in the past and become a relic himself. I think that was done so perfectly and was so like a subtle little, you know, plot line in there that was you know, the whole film was done really well. That was done really well. And I kind of wish he stayed in the past, and then they maybe dig up Indiana Jones's remains. But I guess that'll be a bit harsh, wouldn't it? That'll be a bit, it wouldn't feel right, even though they'll have a big story arc, character arc, sorry. And yeah, I just think they did a good job at it. And the ending with Marion, it could not have been any better. Honestly, when he said, where does it hurt? Here. And they do the exact same scene as they did in Raiders. So that was perfect. And then when the final shot of it zooming into his hat, And Indiana Jones takes his hat, just like he's been doing for the past 4 films. And his hat gets into a sticky situation, he always manages to get it back. And yeah, it was perfect. And yeah, the ending was brilliant. The meanings behind the film were really good. Yeah, I enjoy this film a lot. But for me to really want to rewatch it more, for me to really love the film, I need to rewatch it many times more. You know, I think every Indiana Jones film has their own flair to it, their own different sort of feeling, and that's what I love about them. Their variety, and with that variety, the same character within them, going on these adventures, just winging it all, and just having a good time. You know, having fun. Archaeology, teacher, it's all in here, and yeah, I think that's all I have to say about this film, really. I think overall, I don't know what rating I'll give it. Probably right now, I'm gonna go 7 out of 10. It has its flaws. I had a bit of issue with the pacing in a way. I don't know, really. It's hard to tell. I'm gonna have to watch it again, but it definitely had its little bits that I didn't really connect with as much. Examples of this would be, you know, some bits with the bit at the beginning with the CGI, and the villain sometimes would have his moments where, you know, he didn't feel as menacing, but I know it's hard to explain. I don't know. I'm gonna have to rewatch the film and let you guys my thoughts then, because my thoughts are all muddled at the moment. But yeah, I think the film overall, I enjoyed it, and yeah, I definitely would watch it again because it's Indiana Jones. So yeah, Harrison Ford said he wanted to finish off this character, and he's done so now. And yeah, just what a hero Harrison Ford is, and what a hero Indiana Jones is. And I really hope they don't recast Indiana Jones. If they want to make like someone else Indiana Jones, and do it something else, but don't call it Indiana Jones and don't make it like it. Just do something else. You know, be creative with your own ways. Don't just rehash, because you can't really do that. Because Harrison Ford, when you picture Indiana Jones, you picture Harrison Ford in the role. You can't just replace that. You know, it's not like James Bond, where you're used to a different actor replaying it. Like Indiana Jones has been the same guy since 1981 to 2023. You know, that's a long time. It's like, what, 42 years? So it's a long time. And you can't replace that, in my opinion. So I really hope they don't redo it. I mean, even someone like Chris Pratt, which probably is the best actor that I could see playing Indiana Jones, still wouldn't feel right. So that's my take on that. And yeah, this should be the last Indiana Jones film, unless Harrison Ford wants to come back when he's 100. I mean, he sure can. I mean, he looks great for his age. He can play an action hero when he's 79, so I'm sure he can come back in the future. So yeah, but I think as a character arc, this is a good place to end it. Even if Indiana Jones wasn't really about a character arc, it was more about the adventure side, the story. And I guess he had a bit of character arc in the first 3 films. Like, he's gone from this, Indiana Jones went from this person who just was chasing after fortune and glory, wasn't really a good guy, quite shady, to, in the second film. Now, Temple of Doom takes place before Raiders. We've seen Last Crusade, the story arc goes from that to someone who cares about his dad and ends up saving his dad and drops the Grail for his family. So he lets go of his fortune and glory. And yeah, it's a beautiful story arc in the first trilogy of films. And they had a story arc in Dial of Destiny, and a bit in Crystal Skull with his son as well. Like, there's some dynamics between Last Crusade and Crystal Skull, with Indiana Jones' dad and then Indiana Jones and his son. So I like that dynamic between those 2 films. That's mainly why those 2 films are my favourite. if I were to rank all these films, I would probably put Last Crusade here, Crystal Skull, Temple of Doom, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Dial of Destiny. Raiders of the Lost Ark, it might surprise you that it's that low, but I just think Temple of Doom is just a wild ride. Could rewatch it any day. And then Last Crusade and Crystal Skull, I love the dynamics, love the comedy, love the adventure. The Raiders is amazing. And I should rewatch it more. It's probably the film that I've watched the least amount out of the first 4. I love the chase sequences. I love his character. There's just, I just like the other films more. Simple as that. I do love Raiders though. Don't get me wrong. It's a perfect adventure film. And I respect it, admire it for that. But yeah guys, that is the end of this video here. This video has been very long. So thank you if you've sat through all of it and just listening to my thoughts on the film. Share your thoughts in the comments below. But yeah, I enjoyed Dial of Destiny. Gonna have to rewatch it more, and yeah, to love it more. And I'm sure I will. I'm sure I will, because James Mangold has directed Logan, which I loved. Like Fast and Fury, is that what it's called? I haven't watched it yet. Like Fast Ferrari or something like that. Something with Ferraris. And apparently it's really good. So he's a capable director. And he's done the film well. Yeah guys. Those are my thoughts on Indiana Jones. One of my role models. And yeah. It's just watching the films just gives an escape for me. It's always been that way. And yeah. I love Indiana Jones. I love his character. Yeah guys. See you in the next one. Have a great day. And it belongs in a museum. Catch you next time, guys.